She danced the clouds on laughter-silvered wings until she could no longer slip the surly bonds of earth. Welcome to American Esoterica. If history class gives you the mana, this is the do-do-do-do-do, the essential stuff in between, the personalities, events, and other ephemera that shape our history and culture. I'm Brian Powers. Aviation history is notable for its list of broken barriers, and many of those by enterprising Americans. The original barrier for just getting off the ground? The Wright brothers. The solo transatlantic flight barrier? Charles Lindbergh. The sound barrier? Chuck Yeager. There are other lesser-known barriers broken as well. For instance, Jacqueline Coleman was the first woman to break the sound barrier 6 years after Yeager got his turn. And when she died in 1980, she held more speed, altitude, and distance records than any other pilot of any gender in all of aviation history. 61 years before Jackie Cochran flew faster than sound, Bessie Coleman was born in Texas in 1892, the daughter of an African-American mother and a father of mixed Black and Native American descent. As a child, she worked in cotton fields during the harvest, interrupting her education. Even still, she dreamed of something better, moving to Chicago to live with her brothers and become a successful manicurist. Her World War I veteran brother would taunt her with stories of French female pilots, which spurred her imagination. Bessie Coleman knew what she wanted now, to become a pilot. In post-World War I America, flight school was forbidden to Black pilots, especially Black female pilots. She applied to and was rejected by almost every American flying school. She refused to stop looking toward the skies, though, and enlisted the help of Robert Abbott, the editor of the Chicago Defender, an influential Black newspaper. He gave her an idea: learn how to speak French and head to France for flight school there. She took a better paying job to save up, learned French, and in November of 1920, she sailed for France, where she enrolled in the country's most famous flight school, which I won't even attempt to pronounce. It was supposed to be a 10-month course. Coleman completed it in 7 months, and in June of 1921, she became the first American of any race or gender to earn a pilot's license from the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale, a worldwide licensing organization. Now, she could fly anywhere in the world. She chose to fly back home in America. She received a hero's welcome with scores of reporters there to meet her, and was the guest of honor at the all-Black musical Shuffle Along on Broadway, where she was given a standing ovation by both the Black and white audience members. Bessie Coleman had already broken an aviation barrier in America without flying a single public minute in the country. Despite her newfound fame and an excited public, Bessie Coleman discovered that her career options as a pilot were still hamstrung by prejudices over her race and gender. She would never get hired as a commercial pilot, no matter how adept she was. Her best option to remain flying then was to become a true stunt performer, a barnstormer. She would need more training. A couple months in France and then a few more in Germany flying with military aces gave Coleman the skill set and experience she would need as a barnstormer. On September 3rd, 1922, Coleman borrowed a Curtiss Jenny on Long Island and made the first public airshow flight by a Black female pilot in the United States. The Chicago Defender was there to promote and cover the event, which promised that Coleman would do heart-thrilling stunts. As many as 3,000 people, including many local dignitaries, showed up to witness the event. She managed to parlay her talent and success into a steady job as a barnstorming pilot at aviation shows. It was a dangerous and uncertain profession, which made the rechristened Queen Bess Daredevil aviatrix all the more popular. Such was her clout that she refused to perform in exhibitions with segregated crowds. Coleman was even cast in a movie, but when she realized that her character would be portrayed in rags as an ignorant person, she walked off the set. Queen Bess saved more money to buy her own plane, a Curtiss Jenny, but the plane stalled right after takeoff and smashed into the ground in California. breaking her leg and some ribs in the process. Soon after healing, she made her first comeback flight in a borrowed Jenny in Houston to commemorate Juneteenth. At another show, she filled in for an ill parachutist by taking up an extra pilot before strapping on a parachute, walking out along the wing, and jumping. She managed to land in the center of the crowd to thunderous applause. During all this time, Coleman lectured and met with local groups at every instance, encouraging everyone she met to enter the field of aviation. She had broken the aviation color barrier and encouraged others to follow. It was her dream to open a flight school for black aviators. On April 30th, 1926, Queen Bess took a practice flight for an air show in Jacksonville, Florida. A young mechanic from Texas was aboard, and he had the controls while Coleman, who was fairly short, unbuckled her seatbelt to look over the side for suitable parachute landing sites for the show. A loose wrench somehow slid into the control gears, flipping the plane. Bessie Coleman fell from the plane and plunged to her death. The mechanic couldn't recover the plane without her and was killed in the crash. Queen Bess was 34 years old. Coleman was mourned deeply in the community she loved. She lay in state in both Florida and Chicago, where her visitation drew over 10,000. The activist Ida B. Wells delivered her eulogy in Chicago, and the Bessie Coleman Aero Club sprang up in her honor to promote aviation participation in the black community. It was open to both men and women. The legacy of Queen Bess, Daredevil Aviatrix, still continues. When Dr. Mae Jemison became the first African-American woman in space in 1992, she carried a picture of Bessie Coleman with her. The woman who, when faced with a closed door in front of her, rose above it, quite literally, into the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, where she put out her hand and touched the face of God. This has been American Esoterica. All sounds were made by me, Brian Powers. Did I get it wrong? Did I get it right? Just want me to know that John Gillespie McGee Jr., the author of the poem High Flight, died in a mid-air collision himself just a few months after he wrote this poem? Drop me a note. The address is yell@americanesoterica.com. More information on the show and its episodes can be found at americanesoterica.com. Thank you for listening, and God bless America.